welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan and it's time for a Game Week 24 episode of Buy, Sell, Keep, Avoid, where we're going to have a look at some of the transfer trends and try and work out which ones are the good ones and the bad ones. Guys, if you enjoy this one, drop a like, do subscribe if you're new around here. Let's have a look at the rules of the video. So buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing in. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players that you might be thinking about removing but I think you should keep them. And avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now but I think they are potential traps that should be avoided. Before we go any further, let's have a little look at the results from last game week. So guys, I have absolutely been dreading this part of the video, but let's get it out the way. We do these reflective kind of moments in these videos these days, so we're gonna have to just deal with it. But for the most part, I think we did okay. I think we did okay with 10 out of 16 of our players, returning or not returning immediately after the recommendation. But there is one name on this list that stands out, guys. Give it to me. You know, I deserve it. The banter is part of it, the FPL experience, I suppose. Cunha said to sell him. He scored 17 points, which is absolutely pretty crazy. So yeah, definitely worth a bit of banter on that one. But I do want to say, for any of you guys who are genuinely angry about the Cunha sell suggestion, or people who maybe sold Cunha themselves or benched Cunha and maybe feel a little bit down about it, I do just want to say this. Now, there was a lot of players that were being captained in game week 23. The likes of Haaland, the likes of Alvarez, Watkins, Solanke, even Darwin Nunez. People were captaining these players, all forwards, but nobody was captaining Cunha. Now, why is that? It's because last game week, we kind of all accepted that if we've got to sell a striker, surely we can't sell any of those guys, and so much do we believe that we're actually captaining those other strikers. So with a player like Cunha, you know, you're never going to captain him. He seemed like the worst of the bunch. Now, is he the worst of the bunch? I don't know. It's not really for me to say, although it kind of is. But I just think, hindsight is a wonderful thing. Yes, I screwed this one up a little bit, but going back, I'd probably make the same shout again and again, because the other players were not just great strikers that you want to keep in your team, but also players you might even consider captaining. So I was never really going to suggest to sell any of those players ahead of a player kind of, I guess, a little bit lower down the pecking order like Cunha. But who's to say where he is in the pecking order now? On to Game Week 24, for moving quickly on from last game week. We're going to put Alisson in the buy section. We've got a couple of Liverpool players here in the buy section. I think a great advantage of a player like Alisson, and you can maybe even apply the same situation to Kaminsky at Luton, is that they have a good fixture for Game Week 24, a double game week in Game Week 25, but assuming you guys have two goalkeepers, if you guys got a Dubravka or an Areola in your team as well, then you can have Alisson for this week, you can have him for the double game week, and then you can simply bench Alisson for that blank game week coming up as well. So yes, he is a little bit expensive, but the next two game weeks are really nice. Even the game week after that against Forest is really nice, and I think goalkeepers are much easier to bench than perhaps your outfield players. And I know you guys are going to want to have some Liverpool players in for this game week and for the double game week as well, and a nailed on Liverpool defender, I guess goalkeeper. This is a way of getting around that, and I think it could work if you're willing to spend that money on a goalkeeper, at least in the short term, before maybe wildcarding him out in the near future, or maybe selling him as well. We've got Trent Alexander-Arnold here as well. Wasn't able to complete a full 60 minutes against Arsenal, but he is slowly returning to fitness, and I do think from this Burnley game, we will see a lot more minutes from him. You know, he is the first choice. We know he had fantastic form before that injury, and that's expected to continue as well. Again, great fixture this game week. Double game week looks very tempting as well, and Trent just is miles ahead of any other Liverpool defensive asset, because not only are you getting clean sheets, but the attacking returns are always a possibility with his free kicks, with his creativity, with his corners, with him taking shots from range when he's playing in those inside midfield positions as well. He is a dangerous player and a very good FPL asset, and he's one of those players who, despite the blank, I'd be willing to take him on and maybe sell or bench him for game week 26 when Liverpool do blank. So yeah, definitely a player to watch. So, the priority midfielder to buy this week, I think a lot of people are going to be between the likes of Foden and KDB, or maybe Jota. And I do think Jota is probably the priority buy out of those players at the moment. Like, kudos to you guys if you can get all three of them. But, yeah, certainly Diogo Jota against Burnley is a genuine captaincy shout because of his form recently. I mean, look at these numbers. 4 goals and 3 assists. And he's only started 3 games in his past 5. And he's got all of those attacking returns. Yes, he has been overperforming, but Diogo Diogo Jota has a long history of overperforming his numbers. He's known as a pretty clinical player, so you can expect to see that. But yeah, even these numbers, they're not super high, but given the amount of minutes he's played, Diogo Jota's numbers per 90 are beating most players in the Premier League right now. They really, really are. He is doing really, really well. And you think with Salah gonna be out for game week 24. Salah possibly gets some minutes in game week 25, but even that's not guaranteed. And Diogo Jota has been in such good form recently that he's really made a stake to the claim of first choice in this Liverpool team. So you're gonna have him for this game week, potential captain option. You're probably gonna get a decent opportunity out of him in game week 25 as well, in that double game week. I think he should play, you know, more than 90 minutes over a double game week, which is, you know, very good for Jota in Jota terms. And then after that, you do perhaps think about removing him. But in the short term, Diogo Jota, a really, really nice punt to go for, and perhaps actually a better pick over the next 2 game weeks than the likes of those Man City midfielders, who I do think are potentially more rotation risk and with a lower ceiling, I guess, than Jota, and maybe less captain ability than Jota. For our forwards, it's Erling Haaland time. I think we probably know this already. A lot of you guys would have already bought Erling Haaland into your fantasy team. If you haven't done it already, now is the time to do it. We've had a sub appearance from him. We've had him play, you know, near enough an entire game. Not quite an entire game, but I'm sure he'll build towards that. And next up, we've got Everton at home, which is a decent fixture these days, and then a double game week, and then Bournemouth. The great thing about these Man City players is they don't have a blank. So I really would be focused on getting those Liverpool and Man City players in for this game week and the double, because the huge thing is, a lot of the players who double in 25 have great fixtures in game week 24. So now's the time to bring them in, get them in now, get them in early, and take advantage of this fixture as well as the double game week. Because no matter what happens, guys, you are going to have Haaland in game week 25, aren't you? Let's be honest. You're going to have him in 25, you're going to captain him, and for a lot of us, we're also going to be triple captaining Haaland in game week 25 as well. So just something worth remembering. Don't expect Haaland necessarily to be at the monster heights that he maybe was, you know, when he was fully fit. He's going to take a game or two to get back into the swing of things, but he is getting those minutes under his belt. We've got Champions League, you know, we've got this Everton game, and then we've got the double game week. And at that point, you know, Chelsea and Brentford, both home games as well, by the way, guys, these teams are conceding a lot of goals at the moment, and I don't think Chelsea and Brentford can really be considered difficult games if you're a forward in the Premier League right now. So yeah, Haaland, yeah, he's pretty much an essential player right now, in my opinion. Turner, pretty easy sell. He's fallen out of favour, and even if he was starting, I mean, these fixtures are not great for Nottingham Forest at all. You could really sell all of your Nottingham Forest players right now, to be fair. Maybe you would, you know, if you had an attacking player, maybe you'd see what they could do against Newcastle and West Ham. But defensive players, you know, they've got to go, really. So Turner, very, very easy sell. You know, I was also thinking about maybe putting Leno in here as well. I think Turner and Leno are the kind of goalkeepers I would consider selling this game week. Maybe doing a move to an Alisson or a Kaminsky and trying to take advantage of that good fixture this game week and the double game week. So think about it. If you are a Turner owner, maybe you're not fully convinced by your other goalkeeper as well, potentially, you can do something there. And Colwill, again, pretty easy sell. It looks like he is going to be injured, and then after his injury, you know, he's going to be playing Man City, if he's even back by then, and a blank as well the game week after that. I think outside of Cole Palmer, Chelsea players, again, just sells in general because of that blank game week, because of the difficult fixture against Man City, and the fact that the only player who seems to be doing anything at Chelsea right now is Cole Palmer, which is nice because he is very cheap and still probably worth holding on to. But right now, guys, yeah, Colwill, he has yet to go. With heavy heart, I do have to say Bowen is probably a sell as well. I mean, the other player you'd maybe consider selling would be like an injured player, like a, you know, Gordon if he's injured, Elise, Eze, if these guys are injured, which they are, then maybe you would sell those injured players before you sold a Bowen. But when we look at players like KDB, Foden, and Jota, if you don't have these players in your team right now, then it seems like Bowen is a player that you can quite easily remove in order to get those players, because they are probably going to score more points over the next couple of game weeks, given the fact they've got better fixture this week and a double game week the week after. So definitely think that is a possibility. I don't think it's goodbye forever for Bowen. I do think there's definitely going to be some potential to bring him back in the near future. But right now, I think it just makes the easiest sacrifice for some of those other guys who should score more. Arsenal at home is a difficult fixture. Arsenal proving against Liverpool again that they are a solid defence. They don't concede too many chances. So, you know, I would never expect any individual player to score against Arsenal necessarily, so this is just a good hopping off point. And Julian Alvarez, I mean, this is far more controversial than I thought it would be, to be fair. I think it's pretty obvious to sell Julian Alvarez right now. I mean, out of all of the forwards that we have, like, at our disposal right now, there are so many great forwards in FPL. Alvarez on paper, yeah, he's an okay forward, but when you put him in a list of all of the other forwards, he drops down the rankings quite significantly. Part of that is because I think his minutes are going to reduce. I've said this before, I'll say it again. With KDB and Haaland back in the team, Alvarez was playing in a KDB or a Haaland position pretty much all season. We've got the likes of Grealish, Doku, who are going to start seeing minutes in the Premier League very soon as well. Who is going to drop out? Possibly Alvarez. You know, Nunes has done very well as well when he's played. Alvarez is just not going to play every game, and I know people are saying, well, Alvarez has played every game so far, and I've tried to explain that the reasons why that's happened is because Man City have had so many injuries in the attacking positions recently over this season, and they don't have any anymore. But even if somehow you have full confidence in Pep Guardiola and you think Pep rotation is never going to happen ever for Julian Alvarez, and that's fair enough, I guess. What we will see with Julian Alvarez, even if he does play every minute of every game, is we're going to see him in a deeper position. We're going to see him no penalties because Haaland is going to be taking them, and Haaland's going to be playing as the central striker. Alvarez dropping deeper, and we're going to see KDB on all of the set pieces as we already have. So Alvarez is playing deeper. He's lost his penalties. He's lost his free kicks. Even if he plays every minute, he is not going to be the same FPL asset as he was previously. There is my passionate rant over about Alvarez, because I just don't understand why he is, you know, considered in the same vein now as perhaps, you know, some of those other forwards, because there's so many great forward options right now. I just don't think Alvarez is one of them. Double Man City on the keeps. Yeah, a lot of people looking to sell Ederson and Walker after another disappointing lack of clean sheet. But in fairness, Brentford are not such a bad attack. You know, they scored 1 goal against Man City. We know that that Man City have been underperforming on their expected clean sheets recently. They've been expected to keep more clean sheets than they have. And, you know, when we look at this game against Everton, it's definitely a possibility that we get a clean sheet there. Everton not exactly known for scoring goals. Yes, they scored a couple of goals against Spurs, but, I mean, Spurs are not exactly the strongest defence in the league, are they? Outside of that, Everton have been really struggling to score any goals at all. So at home for Man City, you know, the chance of a clean sheet is probably as high with Man City this game week as it is with any other team. Like, Man City probably have the highest chance of a clean sheet in the Premier League this week. Maybe Liverpool are up there as well, but it's, you know, Man City are a really good shout for clean sheets this week. So Ederson and Walker would not be looking to remove them, and even more so because they have a double game week so soon. We've got a double game week after a great fixture. And even if you don't think Ederson or Walker keep clean sheets against Chelsea and Brentford, just for playing, you know, and Man City don't really concede more than, I don't know, 1 goal per game. You know, just Ederson and Walker playing, that's 4 points each for those guys, just for playing in those games. You add a potential assist maybe for Walker, or you know, add some bonus points if they do get a clean sheet, or you add, you know, some save points for Ederson, and we're going to be looking at some pretty respectable scores. So it doesn't really seem worth selling these players at all right now. Maybe after the double game week you can reconsider that, but for now, I think these guys are definite keeps. Saka is a player who seems to get a lot of hate in the FPL world, and I think obviously he is expensive. We appreciate that, we understand that, but here's the kicker. He is getting FPL returns at the moment, and it's not a coincidence because his underlying numbers are actually the second best in the Premier League right now. The only player who has better underlying numbers over the past 5 game weeks is Julian Alvarez. And we know with Julian Alvarez is his numbers are actually going to see a reduction as he's no longer on, you know, set pieces, penalties, and playing a little bit deeper. So Saka, over the next few game weeks, if trends continue as the way they have, you would expect that Saka is actually going to be one of the main guys in the Premier League with the best opportunities to score. Now, he scored a tap-in last game week. I know people say, well, he scored a tap-in. Is that, you know, can he replicate that every game week? Well, to me, the answer is yes. I think tap-ins are a great indicator of future FPL returns because they often show that a player is in the right positions. And a couple of times versus Liverpool, we definitely saw Saka in the right positions, wanting to be in those areas to score goals. And that's half the battle when it comes to scoring goals. The numbers are fantastic. 3.22 expected goals, so actually an underperformance there. And even more significantly, 1.29 expected assists with no assists. So again, underperformance there. So he's still being creative. He's taking lots of shots in dangerous areas. He's on penalties and hasn't had any penalties recently either. So all of these things added together, as well as these great fixtures. West Ham's a good fixture for an attacker. Burnley's a good fixture for an attacker. Newcastle right now is a great fixture for an attacker, as is Sheffield United. Saka is genuinely, to me, looking like a great pick. So those of you guys thinking about selling Saka for KDB or Foden or Jota, I would really try and look elsewhere. Obviously, those other guys are the priority picks with the double game week, but in an ideal world, you keep on to Saka, because he is really, really at the top of all of the charts for numbers at the moment, and really, really looking like a very positive FPL asset. So I'll be sticking with him no matter what anyone says. Only an injury can change that. And Darwin Nunez, I don't just think he's a keep. I think he's a potential buy as well. Burnley at home, double game week after that. If you're looking for a new forward, or maybe you've already got Haaland, or if you've already got Darwin, I think you're in an amazing position. Now, you can't expect Darwin to be as clinical as a player like Jota, but what we can say about Darwin is that his numbers are phenomenal. And when you get enough chances, you will score some goals. And that's what Darwin is consistently proven. Maybe he gets 4 XG and he scores 3 goals. That's exactly what's happened recently. If he gets another, 2 or 3 XG against Burnley, and then on the double game week as well, again, we're looking at another couple of goals in the next 2 game weeks. And that is what you want from your forwards in FPL, and it's definitely more than possible. Still think he has a good chance of being on penalties. He had an excellent penalty record before his miss the other week, which we won't talk about. Just in general, I think Darwin is still a really, really solid FPL option, a player I would very much want in my team. No way to be selling him. Very, very easy pick of the avoids this game week in the defensive positions, because a lot of people looking to pick Food and to Branthwaite. That one doesn't really work. But people are looking to bring in Everton defenders and goalkeepers this week, which sounds absolutely crazy away against Manchester City. Surely that is the worst time to buy a defender or a goalkeeper when they're about to play Man City away from home. It seems absolutely ludicrous. 2 goals conceded against Spurs, of course, during game week 23. And you'd say Man City are just as good, if not a better attack than Spurs. I'll let you guys debate that one. So certainly it is not looking good for clean sheets in this game week. After that, Crystal Palace maybe okay. After that, we've got Brighton, West Ham. Not sure about clean sheets there. And in game week 29, it looks like Everton are going to be a team that blanks in game week 29 as well. So unfortunately, these Everton picks, I don't like this game week. I would be more tempted next game week, but for now, they have got to be avoids. And let's finish off this video with the most controversial page of the video, and you can get your comments at the ready, I suppose. So Maddison is going to be my first avoid. The reason why I'm putting Maddison in the avoid category is not necessarily because I don't think he's going to score points. So, guys, when we do the review part of the video next game week, so this is why I don't like the review part of the video, really, but you guys like it, so entertainment, I suppose. But yeah, this is why I don't like it, because I think Maddison actually does have a good chance of getting some FPL points over the next 2 game weeks. And the problem is, I don't think he's going to get more FPL points than a lot of the other options. Now, this avoid is more about opportunity cost, and both of these are, to be fair. We'll talk about Haaland in a second. But for Maddison, if you want a Spurs midfielder right now, you go for Richarlison. There's no doubt about that. Richarlison is in those more dangerous areas. He's in better form at the moment. Richarlison is cheaper as well. So if you want Spurs midfielder, you go for Richarlison. Do you go for both Maddison and Richarlison? I don't think you do, because then what about the likes of Foden, De Bruyne, Jota, Saka, all of these other great options that, a lot of them have double game weeks. A lot of them don't blank in game week 26. Maddison, in the next 3 game weeks, plays twice. When we look at Man City players, they play 4 times in the next 3 game weeks. When we look at Liverpool players or Arsenal players, they play 3 times in the next 3 game weeks. So in the next 3 game week period, I think you probably do look to avoid Maddison. I mean, Richarlison, I understand a little bit more, but even him, I think you would still try and prioritize Liverpool and Man City. And then after that, after the blank, let's talk about them again. But for now, I think the opportunity cost of missing out on all of those other picks and going for Maddison instead, it's just not worth it. So I expect Maddison to get points. I expect other players that you have missed out on by going for Maddison to get even more points. Same situation with Haaland, and this is the kicker, because I know I always say this, there are so many Man United fans in the FPL world, and every time I say a Man United player is an avoid, I get pelters in the comments, and that's fine. Of course, you guys, you are absolutely entitled to your opinion, and if you disagree with me, please do not just follow me blindly. But as far as I'm concerned, Aston Villa away from home is not the easiest fixture, and we are in a situation where we've got so many other forwards who are in great form, who have got great fixtures, who have got double game weeks. There's so much going on right now. Are we really, if you're going for Haaland, the opportunity cost is that you're missing out on Haaland, Tony, Darwin, all have double game weeks. You're missing out on, Solanke, Watkins, top form players. Can we throw in Cunha in that conversation? Maybe. You would probably put all of these players above Haaland right now. And that is the unfortunate truth. Another thing, and I have to point this out, guys, Haaland's expected numbers are way below his actual output. He's got 6 attacking returns with an expected attacking returns of 1. He's only had 1 expected attacking return in his past 4 game weeks, and he's got 6 returns. That is a significant difference, and, you know, I'm not saying he's not going to be able to keep it going, but it's going to be tough for him to keep it going if Man United continue to generate so few chances for him. I mean, 6 shots in 4 game weeks, that's not good enough when we compare him to so many of the other forwards. So, again, this is not too much of a criticism on Maddison or Højlund. They are not bad players. They're not bad picks in general, but their other options look so much better than them right now over the next few game weeks. And I think that is the real thing here that we need to think about. Yes, these players are good, but can we do better? And I believe we can. So this is the part of the video, guys, where I tell you, do not make early transfers. But I really, really do mean it this time, guys. On Wednesday evening, we're going to have a Chelsea versus Aston Villa FA Cup game that is going to decide a lot of things. It's going to decide out of 4 teams, Arsenal, Chelsea, Aston Villa and West Ham, 2 of those teams are going to blank in game week 29, and we will find out that information by the end of Wednesday. So that's going to be crucial information before making our FPL decisions. Also, this game week, we are probably, more than likely, like 90% sure we're going to get a Man City early team news. And that's really going to help inform those decisions on what Man City players you might want to buy for this game week as well. So please try and wait. It's an important week to try and hold off on those transfers, of course, unless you are in danger of being priced out of moves you desperately want to make, in which case, take a risk, but that risk is on you. If you enjoyed this one, make sure you drop a like. Do subscribe if you were new around here. And if you've got a comment for me, and I'm sure you have this game week, drop it down below. I do read everything and try and engage with you as much as I can as well. I can take a bit of banter on the Cunha thing. I completely understand it. And yeah, Man United fans, get at me about Højlund as well. If I'm wrong, tell me. I want to hear your points of view. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Check out another video we did a stream talking about chip strategy and double game weeks and blank game weeks and things like that yesterday. You might want to check that one out. But aside from that, I will see you later, mates.